Hello and welcome to another episode of Get the Gist podcast. I'm your host, Chandan Goswami. In this podcast, we bring the industry leaders from different industries to understand their vision, the use of technology, and specifically about the use of AI in their processes. Today, I'm joined by Charles Ickes, CEO of Bergen Logistics. With over 2 decades in logistics and supply chain management, Charles has been instrumental in driving operational efficiency and fostering a culture of continuous improvement. Prior to joining Bergen Logistics, he held key leadership positions, including the Chief Logistics Officer at Rent the Runway. Since his appointment as CEO in March 2024, Charles has focused on leveraging Bergen's robust logistic network and the state-of-the-art facilities to deliver unparalleled value to clients worldwide. Charles, great to have you here.
It's good to be here.
So, you have built quite a reputation in the logistics and supply chain space. I would love to start with your journey. What led you to join Bergen Logistics, and what's been the driving force behind your leadership since becoming the CEO?
I was hired 7 years ago by Bergen Logistics as a vice president of operations. And the founders at the time really had a vision of their retirement and they needed to sell the company. So that it was a significant organization, but certainly not ready for an acquisition. So
Mhm.
my job over the last 7 years was to prepare that company for an acquisition. So basically putting in good SOPs, good systems. We had our own proprietary WMS and evolving that so that it was well positioned for a go-to-market strategy, as well as bringing it into the sort of current state in the infrastructure technology point of view, because it was pretty behind the times. And then becoming a very data centric organization. And through all of this, of course, improving the profitability to a point where it'd be a good target acquisition for a publicly traded company. And we achieved that goal 3 years ago by the acquisition of Landers. Throughout that journey, I moved to president and then to president CEO. And then finally, last year, I became the CEO under Landers. So that's sort of the
That's great.
journey.
That's a great journey. I mean, not many leaders have this kind of experience. So, your company, Bergen Logistics, serves a diverse set of industries, right? Fashion, beauty, home goods, and medical devices, among others. That's a very broad spectrum to cover. How do you and your team ensure each industry receives tailored logistic solutions to meet their unique needs? It must be a complex balancing act.
It certainly is. And we consider ourselves primarily a bespoke solution for what I would call better to luxury, especially in the fashion logistics space, where they do have very specific needs, whether it's a packing directive or their quality assurance or value added services that need to be done. So, probably the key driver of that was the technology. You can't service 300 different brands with 300 different needs without some system to manage that. So, big press on updating the software so it was a much more versatile, flexible, robust tool. And we continue. And when I arrived here, that software team was about 10 people, including the help desk. And we're currently up to 50 and we'll be growing up to 70 by end of year. We have gone to market with it as well. So that was an interesting revelation. We had some customers that grew to a point where they were so large that they're like, hey, we need to do our own fulfillment. We can do it just as well as you guys can, but we'd like to take your software with us. And we're like,
Yeah.
huh. And so it was sort of just an organic evolution and it went well. And then it just kind of continued happening. And we're like, well, all right, we may have a product here.
Yeah. That's amazing. One thing that stands out, and it came out in my research about your company, it's emphasis on the customer service. Clients have praised the company's ability to scale alongside their growth and supportive partnership they experience. So, what's your philosophy as a CEO when it comes to building and maintaining strong client relationship in the industry?
Every one of our customers has their own account manager. Our account managers, depending on the size of the organization and how much support they need, we vary that from customer to customer or brand to brand. Some brands might have their own dedicated person. Other brands may have a tenth of an account manager. That's about as small as we get. But that enables us to really give them the customer service that they need, because a lot of people think going to 3PL, great, they're going to do everything for us, and it's a perfect world. And we all know in business, it is not a perfect world. There are always exceptions that need to be managed. So it's really a partnership, and it's about going back and forth and good lines of communication. So that's what we really press on. And how do we meet with the customers in a cadence that works for them, make sure that they have access to the right people. There was some comments made about, like, I put my cell phone at the bottom of my email signature. I'm like, if you need to escalate, bring it to the top if you have to, right? So I want them to have different avenues or channels to communicate in whatever way works best for them.
Absolutely. So my next question is, every industry is going through a change, specifically logistics and supply chain. I mean, I'm talking to different leaders, and one thing that I have realized is that it is going through a significant change over the years. From your perspective, what are some of the most impactful shifts that you have observed recently, and how your company adapted to stay ahead in such dynamic environment?
I think the technology is probably the biggest factor, right? And we are right in the center of innovation and technology with our own WMS system. Frankly, the purchase by, or the acquisition by Alanders even further enabled us. So we built the Bergen network, as we're calling it. So what we do is we've leveraged, just give you a sense of the scope of Alanders. It's a 1.5 billion US publicly traded company out of Sweden. We've got 1,000 staff in Asia. I have 1,000 staff on the U.S. in I guess you call it North America. We have 6,000 staff in Europe and roughly 1,000 staff in UK. So leveraging that global position, we also have a freight forwarding division. So the Bergen network is not in every building in every country, but we were able to enable the network through China, or I should say Asia Pacific. So China, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, India. So that's one division. And it's enabled through the technology, and that being CloudX systems is like the backbone of the network. So everybody who's on the network has the software running in the facility. We use similar contracts. Obviously, there's country-specific language that needs to be incorporated, but the contracts are going to be very comfortable and familiar when you've done one. The pricing model is very similar. You'll be dealing with the same group of people under the same umbrella through Asia into the US, into UK, into Europe, and then the freight forwarding division kind of flows through CloudX as well. So yeah, I would definitely say our ability to address the globe, be very flexible, with that software backbone that's literally standardized throughout the globe. You can very easily say, hey, I need to be in, especially with the tariff wars going on right now, I need to be in the UK, I need to be in China, hey, I need to shift to India. Mm-hmm. I can have your software. You do a single point of integration, your software is up and running, and we're just waiting on the goods now, right? It takes, by the time you sign the contract, the system's up the next day, and we're just waiting on your goods to arrive. The processes are very similar. Obviously, with the bespoke nature, there are different tweaks, but the system handles all of that for you. And it's just a fabulous network that's getting a lot of positive response from our brand throughout the globe.
Amazing. Talking about technology, I think you touched base on that a little bit, but your company has invested in advanced technologies like automated stores and robotic packing solutions, right? Where do you see the role of technology evolving in the logistics sector? Are we just scratching the surface, or we are deep into the automation, into the robotic solutions? What is your view on that?
We're definitely just scratching the surface. I am not a huge proponent of automation in my world. My world is 3PL. And as I mentioned, I've got 300 different brands that need 300 different solutions. Automation, as it currently exists, is not that flexible. So if you purchase one tool And that tool doesn't fix the problem. You don't want a Phillips head screwdriver for a flat head screw, right? So that's where automation's at right now. I think the future of it is really the autonomous robots, which we're starting to see them showing up in the shows where they're human looking, so to speak. They're definitely in their infancy. I was talking to some folks, and the return on the investment is not there yet. Having a couple of those running, so you're kind of cutting edge. So a lot of the automation that we're working with is probably more about future looking, being on the edge, but not expecting a lot of return on investments. I do have some brands come in and say, "Hey, we've got to be in automation." And I'm like, "Do you want to pay more?" Because right now it's tough because they're not that big where they're taking an entire building and they've got a really steady process and nothing ever changes. Those are great automation problems, right? If you've got a standard product you've been doing for 10 years, the demand is there and it's going to be there for another 10 years and nothing's really going to change around your widget, automate the hell
Yeah.
out of it. For mine, with the flexibility that I need, we've done a lot and they've been challenging projects, to put it mildly, some of which have, I'll say breaking even, and then the others have been flops, but it does keep us on the cutting edge, and I want to be there. As the automation price tags come down, the ROIs are going to be much more viable.
Yep, that's such a pragmatic approach, because the reason I'm saying this is I hear a lot of discussion about dark warehouses, where fully automated facilities with minimal human intervention. Some view of it as the future of logistics, right? While others are, skeptical, or they're waiting to see how where it goes, or how the cost and the quality kind of balances. What's your take on this trend? Are you seeing a lot of talk about the dark warehouses? Do you see your company moving towards such models?
I think we've been talking about dark warehouses for a couple decades now, right? I suspect we've got at least another decade. Look, the AI revolution is really interesting, right? You start getting into advanced general intelligence. It's hard to say where that goes, but then you need robotics that has the flexibility to go with the intelligence behind it. Even then, there may be exceptions. So I say we're probably a fair ways out. Everything's moving very quickly now. The cost of automation is still pretty pricey. And you need the intelligence to go with it. So as the intelligence evolves, which it is quickly, it may surpass the hardware side with the actual automation. You need that automation to catch up. Obviously, everybody's seen the Boston Scientific robots, which are amazing, but the price tag on them are incredibly high. But as that evolves and gets cheaper, now you start heading towards that dark warehouse. I hate to make these type of projections, but I'd still say you're probably 2 decades out.
Okay, yeah, that's very, a pragmatic approach. So now, in a similar line, we last 2 years have been all about generative AI, right? Or the AI evolution that we are seeing, and how your industry is kind of adopting AI in, say, for example, in customer services or in your back office processes. Are you seeing a lot of adoption in that line, or how you are thinking about generative AI in general in your industry?
So if you'd asked me a year ago how much I use Google, it's like hundreds of times a day. Today, ask me how often I use ChatGPT compared to Google, and probably 90% of my queries now go to ChatGPT over Google. And Gemini is, from my point of view, is not quite there, and ChatGPT is stronger. I know Gemini is trying to catch up. So from my day-to-day life, it is completely inundated to the point where at the bottom of my phone, on the iOS, you've got that bar. I pulled the Chrome app out and I put the ChatGPT one in because I always want it to be at the bottom because I'm using it more than anything else. In our systems internal to the organization, we have a AI steering committee. We were definitely adopting ad hoc everywhere. Our CRM and our desk ticketing system has it's Zoho and it's Zia AI. We're working with them now. Have my customer service people to be able to explore the knowledge base. We started our knowledge base a few years ago. So the knowledge base is built out, and making sure the AI can access that, give us good responses for our customer service people to just make them more efficient. And then eventually we'll have chatbots coming up in the next couple months for both our websites as well as in our knowledge base. So definitely on the customer service side, it's huge. And when I say both our websites, I meant our Bergen 3PL and our CloudX Systems websites. Throughout our WMS system, it's being embedded all over the place. I mean, I think probably the most exciting area that I like is how you can more efficiently run a warehouse. We are working on, so we started an AI project probably 18 months ago, and we very quickly found out that our data was not well organized. So that first AI project did not go well for us. So
Mhm.
we've spent the last, I'll say, 18 months working on our data, garbage in, garbage out, and really getting, and I don't want to say a structured database, but a more organized database with structured and unstructured data where the AI can actually work on it. And then we've just finished a chatbot that, as a proof of concept, to see if our supervisors can query the data warehouse and say, hey, in picking, how am I doing? Am I going to make? I'm going to make end of day, and I'm going to get everything picked. No, and it can respond, no, you're not. Well, what should I do? Well, these two people are going very slow. You may want to see what's going on with them. Actually, even if you get them up to speed, you're going to need two more people. I would just recommend going to receiving because these two people have worked in your department, have good units per hour, and receiving's overstaffed right now. So right now, though, that's a pull query. The next evolution of that is that push query, where it's more prescriptive. And then, ultimately is like, can you actually make the AI proactive, where it's actually sending the requests and pulling people from different area to area? But that's a little more aspirational at this point. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a super interesting one. It's document management is a huge one. We deal with we're omni-channel, and then we deal with returns. So returns is very messy. You've got customers that may or may not have done an RMA. They may have put information in there. There may be no information in there, and it's a time-consuming process just figuring out, do we have an RMA or an ASN to bring this back in the system? Who is it? What are we expecting back? And if that information is not available, then sending something to the brand and requesting information to the brand, and the brand sending us something back. So we're looking at how we can automate that. We look at how everybody does the touches on that, take a photograph of the relevant information, upload it as unstructured data, let the AI query that, create the request, create the whether the Excel for the customer, so they can respond to us and email to us, and then we can set that aside and then pull that as needed once we have the relevant information to actually execute on the return.
Absolutely. This space is changing so fast, right? I mean, 2 years back we were talking about AI. Now the talk is about agentic AI, where the AI can take action on behalf of you. It's not only about providing the information. You mentioned about chatbot, or basically the information processing, structured data, unstructured data, but there is a lot of talk about the agentic AI, where the agent can automatically identify what action it needs to take and take the action on behalf of the user. Do you see that happening in your industry or in your company? What do you think about?
No, we like it quite a bit. I mean, I definitely want my AIs to be able to communicate with the people and make prescriptive. I don't know about proactive, like the actual executing quite yet. There's also some security concerns around that. It's moving very fast, and you can see we're moving so fast that we're skipping a couple steps. But I think it's brilliant. I just want to make sure we do it right. So yeah, I love the prescription. The proactive is probably a little bit further out, where they can take all the actions necessary, move people around the building for me. I'd prefer those people to be robots, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Charles, this has been an enlightening conversation. Thank you for sharing your insights. I appreciate how you blend deep industry expertise with a genuine commitment to client relationship and innovation. Looking forward to seeing where your company goes next. You know, I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been a great pleasure.
Thank you.